Now to the pandemic and the continuing struggle to come to terms with what we're all living through right now. Today, the Biden administration will mark 1 million lives that have been lost to COVID. It is a huge loss that would have been unthinkable when this pandemic began. Even now, more than 2 years later, a debate is still raging in Washington over how to respond. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on this story. Nancy, I remember when the death toll was 100,000, and that made front page news because we thought that was unthinkable.
Right, and now the president is marking this new grim milestone, 1 million deaths here in the U.S., and he's going to be releasing, Gail, a pre-recorded speech later this morning to mark that solemn occasion. He has also ordered flags at federal buildings to be lowered to half-staff to mark the 1 million American deaths from the pandemic. Meanwhile, White House officials are already warning of another deadly wave that could infect 100 million people with a new Omicron variant that is already in this country. The president has been pleading with Congress to pass another $10 billion in COVID funding to make sure that the U.S. can purchase enough COVID vaccines and tests and antiviral treatments to be ready for the fall. But Republicans are saying they are not going to vote for that money unless they also get a vote on keeping this Trump-era pandemic policy in place. It's called Title 42, and it blocks migrants at the border from seeking asylum due to COVID concerns in this country. So that's an impasse right now. President Biden, as you know, came into office wanting to get the pandemic completely under control. And at one point, he even predicted we were experiencing independence from the virus. But while the COVID-19 death rate was actually on the decline last summer, we then saw these spikes from highly contagious Delta and Omicron variants, which fueled cases across the country. Today, the president is set to co-host the second annual COVID summit. It's going to be a virtual summit. It's meant to try to convince world leaders to invest more in COVID-19 vaccines and testing, because as we know, Gail, COVID anywhere affects cases and deaths everywhere.
All right, Nancy, we do remember that. Thank you so much.